Hey guys, it's Wolf Maiden, and today we're going to be talking about a little LARP concept that I like to call the Artists and Artisans Picnic. If you're new to the channel or you haven't seen my video about get-together LARPs, then I'll have that linked above, so you can go check that out for more context. So this idea in particular I think would be a good starting point, so all the characters of your new get-together LARP get to meet, and you can set the setting and everything. Sort of like a session one for D&D. The Artists and Artisans Picnic is a good way to get together for friends who just want to dress up, role play, and maybe get some things done as well. While it's not a crazy idea for a LARP, or it might seem a little simplistic, I think it can really start things off, and I think that's part of the issue with most things is we have ideas for stuff and we think we're going to do them and then we don't do them. So just starting with something simple can really set the ball in motion. This concept can kind of slot into a get-together LARP that's already running, or it can be the start like I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to offer a complete step-by-step with examples, and you're free to take the examples that I make and just make them your own, run with them, whatever you would like. And so let's get started. So you're going to start with setup, of course, the who, what, where, when, and why. But first we're going to start with where and when. So of course you need a real life location. My example is the park from noon to 4 on October 12th. So you just have to figure out where and when this is going to happen. I think that's a good start, so you know like your deadline, when everything needs to be done prep-wise. Then after that, you need to know the LARP's in-game location. Where and what setting are you guys playing in? So this can be very simplistic to start before you get really diving into the setting. So you want to pick the genre for sure, so everybody agrees what genre that you're playing in, and then they know what kind of things to bring to set the scene and what to wear as a character. You can go as fantastical or not as fantastical as you want, especially if you're in public. I totally understand if you don't want to wear your corsets and your skirts and your everything that is a little bit more medieval fantasy or something like that. Maybe you want to be like, oh, I'll just wear a dress, you know, like that works, and to just do that, or just wear, you know, pants and a shirt that can kind of be in whatever genre style, just very kind of neutral. For my example, the genre is medieval fantasy, and the location where everybody is going to be meeting at for this picnic and game is on the road to Artosia. I know, very, very genius name. I think it's very original, having nothing to do with the name of this picnic. So next you're going to fill out that LARP setting. You're going to be making the actual setting. I encourage you and your group to think about the lore for this game together. If you don't want to get too deep, you don't have to. Like I said, my example I think would work perfect for a very casual game and something you don't have to think too hard about, but you can also amend it totally to your needs as well. You can start with a couple places your players can be from, or even just one place, one whole kingdom or country or whatever kind of government system you're using. You want to describe the culture and the elements of the place, like what form of government is it? Is there any conflict going on? Is it a monarchy? Is it a war-torn place that your characters are fleeing from? Maybe it is peaceful and you're all simply headed off to do some trading, or you're starting your adventure as a wanderer. Then if it's a medieval fantasy setting, how high fantasy is it? Are there creatures like orcs? Are there elves or dwarves? If so, which of these can characters play? So my example setting is Artosia. Artosia is a modge podge of cultures colliding. It's the capital city of the wider Kariv kingdom, which has grown significantly since war broke out in the nearby western regions. Refugees and adventurers have made their way to Artosia and leave from it seeking less crowded environments. Some will seek other kingdoms who have different things to offer, or are looking to wait out the war before returning home. Trade is picked up as there are more mouths to feed and not enough transportation for goods. Aspiring merchants have grown as of late, joining the Merchants Guild and purchasing their first goods to make coin off of. As a result, roads and carriages are crowded, and it's common to see travelers here and there, even going to small villages. That is the example that I give for the place that players are from. I just give an overall look of this one place that they're all headed to, and a very general mention of the kingdom that they're in. So next, after the setting, you can go ahead and start making characters. I'm keeping everything simple, but it's just a starting point for you. So if you decide you want to make things a little bit more complex, add a lot more gameplay elements and things like that, you can of course do that. But for the sake of this picnic and making sure that you guys can play without too much fuss, here's what I have. So you want to decide as a group or individuals what you want to play as. After figuring out what fantasy races players can play, if there are any, and what places are available, brainstorm ideas either together as a group or have each player on their own come up with their character. Each player should at least have a name, a fantasy race, a backstory, a goal, and skills. Then you want to set up a starting scenario. For example, all the characters meet on the side of the road while on their way to Artosia, or we're all riding in a carriage together where they decide to stop by the side of the road to have lunch and relax. This is when they all actually start speaking to each other for whatever reason. Next, you want to come up with the gameplay elements. A LARP is a role-playing game, but it's also a game. And so if you would like more than just role play, you're going to have some game elements that you're going to need to make. So you're of course going to want to have something to record everything while at your session, so make sure you have a notebook set aside or a journal or something available for recording what players get in a game session, how much money they have, and all of that. Of course, if some of these things aren't relevant, you don't even need to add them. But for my example, let's say all the characters are merchants just starting out. Everyone is allotted a starting amount of currency and has some sort of resource to trade in another town. After the session, players will be able to sell their goods and will make more money as a result. Then continuing with the theme of trade, you might want to prepare skills relevant to the type of LARP. So in this example, merchant skills. Let's just say for the sake of simplicity that everybody gets 1 character point to start to have skills, and everything costs 1 character point. So this is more so that your character forms more as you play, and here are some examples of skills for merchants. There's literacy, so you can read and write. It's especially necessary if you have poets or writers who are at the picnic, so they definitely want to take this if that's their thing, but also they can read signs or read notes or papers and things like that for the purpose of role play. Then there's accountant. At each game, an accountant finds a little more money in the books and gains an extra bit of coin at the start of each game. And then there's crafty. Each item made at the game, or just the session in general, produces more merchant goods to sell. So I realized I didn't talk too much about what to spend in-game currency on, and in the context of the same idea where everybody's merchants and things, you can spend more money on trade goods. So like bundles of grain, barrels of ale, trinkets, clothing, anything you can think of that they can purchase at the next town when they sell things, they can get as trade goods and sell elsewhere. Then there's of course things like a horse or a wagon, a bigger backpack, or even ultimately a shop front in a town so that they can make more money passively as they're doing their adventures. And these are only just a few ideas. You could of course come up with a lot more entertaining and fun things for them to buy, maybe pets, maybe whatever you can think of, and put it in there as something that players can buy so that they'll be motivated to continue playing and enjoy your time together. And then to keep things going and moving roleplay wise, you're going to want to make some random event cards. So these are cards that whoever's running the game, if you have somebody who's running the game, is going to start creating event cards. This can be random occurrences that happen, people that they stumble across, or a lost item, anything. This will help characters continue with roleplay throughout the session at regular intervals, although this is completely optional because maybe your group would rather just focus on the crafts and each other and less on external events that they don't really know what's going to happen. It's definitely up to each group, but if you want to keep things going, introduce new elements, or pull from backgrounds of characters, this might be a good addition to add. Then finally, here's some examples of what you can do activity-wise at the picnic. So there's crochet, knitting, reading, writing poetry, writing short stories, origami, wood carving, basket weaving, embroidery, hand sewing, sketching, painting, doing an activity book, coloring in a coloring book, checkers, chess, mancala, card games, and puzzles. There are many other things that you can do also at a picnic, so these are just some examples, but hopefully they give you some good ideas for where to start. And lastly, here are the things that you would actually bring to the picnic. Remember to bring your snacks and water, bring a cooler, a picnic basket with utensils and things, a basket to hold your craft supplies, a picnic blanket, an umbrella if there's no shade to sit in, a camera to take a photo of you and your friends or just use your phones, bring a chair if you're not a fan of grass or sitting on a blanket in the grass, items to give as gifts to swap with your friends, and crafting kits. The last 4 are optional, but they are there, again, to kind of give you an idea of what you can do. So in summary, you want to figure out the real life time and place for the game. Then you need the LARP setting, the places characters can be from, genre of the game, and fantasy races to play if there are any. Set up the starting scenario, then make up some skills, and have everyone make characters, make random event cards, have a notepad or something to record things on during the game, including in-game currency, bring your picnic supplies and activities, and then have your Artisans picnic. A basket is a pretty good way to hide things that are not as in genre, and you can put your crafts in here pretty easily. You can cover things up pretty easily with your cloth and transport it easily. So I highly recommend a basket for your crafts. And I think that's everything. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something from this, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.